Here's a price tag for you. $180 for a telescope with 675 times power printed across the box in letters you can read from the parking lot. 2 shelves over. $210 for a scope from a brand that's never run an ad in its life. Same size lens. One of them will show you Saturn's rings so sharp you'll laugh out loud. The other one shows you a wobbly gray smudge and spends March in a closet. By the end of this video, you'll know the 5 brands cashing in on beginners who can't tell the difference. Plus, the 3 checks that expose a bad scope in about 10 seconds. Nobody pays me for these videos, so if straight answers are useful to you, subscribing is the easiest way to get more of them. First, the one trick the whole telescope aisle runs on. That magnification number on the box means nothing. Any telescope can technically hit 600 times, the same way any car can technically hit the rev limiter in first gear. What actually matters is aperture, the width of the lens or mirror pulling in light, and how steady the mount is underneath it. A big number printed on cardboard costs the manufacturer nothing. A big mirror costs real money. The brands I'm about to name figured that out decades ago. Most first-time buyers never do. Entire product lines are built on that gap. Number 5. Gskyer. Search telescope on Amazon, and there it is, usually the top result, sitting on thousands of 5-star reviews. Here's what those reviews actually measure. Someone who's never looked through a telescope points a Gskyer at the moon, sees craters for the first time, and gives it 5 stars. Fair enough. The moon is bright. Almost anything shows you the moon. But the standard Gskyer is a 70mm refractor on an aluminum tripod so thin it flexes when the wind picks up. Point it at Jupiter and the view shivers every time you breathe near the focuser. The price is the real crime. That scope runs from $120 to $180 depending on the week, and for about $40 more than the top of that range, you can get a 114mm tabletop Dobsonian with more than double the light gathering area. More than double. The reviews aren't lying to you. They're written by people who've never seen what $40 more looks like. Number 4. National Geographic. I know, it stings. That yellow border has meant something since your grandparents' coffee table. But National Geographic doesn't make telescopes. They license the logo mostly to a German company called Bresser, which slaps it on generic entry-level hardware and ships it to big box stores. Bresser sells nearly identical scopes under its own name for less. Same tube, same shaky mount, except the famous rectangle adds about $50 to the sticker. It adds nothing to the glass, nothing to the tripod. The logo is the product. The telescope is packaging. Number 3. Tasco. The brand that basically invented the box lie. Back in the 1970s, Tasco was printing 600 times magnification on department store telescopes, and the play worked so well they never stopped. 50 years later, same formula. Plastic focusers that slip under your fingers. Objectives so small they'd embarrass a decent pair of binoculars. An amount so shaky that the moon, the easiest target in the sky, turns to soup while you're trying to focus. Old astronomy club guys have a name for scopes like this: hobby killers, because that's the job they do. A kid unwraps one on Christmas morning, sees none of what the box promised, and decides by New Year's that space is boring. The kid was never the problem. The scope was. Quick pause before the top 2 because this part actually protects you. 3 checks, 10 seconds, and no salesman or Amazon listing fools you again. 1. Find the aperture in millimeters and ignore every magnification claim. Under 70mm, walk away. At 100mm and up, now we're talking. 2. Look at the mount. For a beginner, a simple Dobsonian base, picture a Canon mount that swivels and tilts. Beats a flimsy equatorial mount with counterweights every single time. Counterweights look serious. On a thin tripod, they're just more mass to wobble. And if the tripod looks like it came free with a $30 camera, it did. 3. Check the eyepieces. Standard size is 1.25 inches, which means a $30 upgrade later instead of throwing the whole scope away. Proprietary eyepieces are a trap door. That's the whole test. And to be clear, nobody on this list is paying me, and neither is anybody on the good list coming up. If no strings breakdowns are your thing, subscribe and stick around. Number 2, and this one's painful. Celestron's Power Seeker line. Painful because Celestron makes genuinely excellent telescopes. The next star line is beloved for good reason. That reputation is exactly what the Power Seeker trades on. The Power Seeker 127EQ, one of the best-selling telescopes in America, is what's called a Bird-Jones design. It uses a cheap spherical mirror and hides a little corrector lens inside the focuser tube to patch over it. Sounds clever. In practice, that corrector makes the scope nearly impossible to collimate, which is the mirror alignment every reflector needs before it can give you a sharp image. Amateur astronomy forums hold 15 years of threads from owners asking why their Power Seeker 127EQ won't focus. The honest answer is that it never really will. Celestron knows what its good scopes cost to build. The Power Seeker exists for the buyer who recognizes the name and not the design. Number 1. Meade. Ask anyone who was into astronomy in the 1990s and they'll tell you Meade was a titan. This is the company that built the LX200, the scope serious amateurs spent years saving up for. Then came the 2019 bankruptcy, and the brand got absorbed by the same parent company behind Orion. What's still on shelves under the entry-level Infinity and Polaris names is coasting on a legacy the current hardware didn't earn. The tripods are the tell. Touch the focuser on one and count how long the image shakes. 5 full seconds is common. On a target that's a pinpoint of light thousands of times smaller than the moon, 5 seconds of shake means you can't focus at all. You nudge, wait for the wobble to die, and nudge again. Paying extra for the Meade name in 2026 is paying for a company that, in its old form, no longer exists. So where does the money actually work? Here's the unglamorous answer every experienced amateur gives. An 8-inch Dobsonian. Aperture and Skywatcher both make one, and they run $400 to $600. No motors, no app to pair with your phone, just a big, honest mirror on a base that moves when you push it and stays put when you stop. Set it on the lawn, point it at Saturn, and listen for the sound everyone makes the first time, somewhere between a laugh and a swear word. It shows you Jupiter's cloud bands the same night, and from anywhere dark, galaxies. All for less than plenty of the computerized traps on this list. If $500 is too steep, the used market is the single best deal in this hobby. The classifieds on cloudy nights, the big astronomy forum, are full of well-kept Dobsonians at half price, sold by people upgrading, and a Dobsonian has almost nothing on it that can break. Here's the thing about that closet. Every neighborhood in America has one, with a dusty department store telescope inside. The gap between that scope and the one that starts a lifelong habit was never money. The dead scope often cost more. The gap is one sentence. Aperture is the product, and the number on the box is the bait. So run the checks. Millimeters over magnification. Amount that holds still. Eyepieces you can swap out later instead of a whole scope you have to replace. Do that, and this aisle can't rip you off again. Now tell me in the comments, what was your first telescope and did it survive a year? I have a feeling I know which brands are about to show up down there. If this saved you $200 or a return trip, subscribe before you go. I do this for every hobby the marketing departments have gotten their hands on.